The candle on my birthday cake flickered weakly under the dim lights of that upscale steakhouse in Seattle, casting long shadows across the faces around the table. I was turning 32, surrounded by what was left of my family: Mom, her husband Greg, his son Tyler, and my younger sister Leah. Everyone was smiling, but something felt off, like the air was too thick to breathe. Mom slid a slim envelope across the table toward me with a nervous grin. "Happy birthday,
Sarah.
this is for you." I expected a card, maybe some cash for that vacation I'd been hinting at. Instead, as I pulled out the papers, my heart slammed against my ribs. It was a title transfer for our old family home on Elmwood Drive, the place Dad had left us before the heart attack took him 8 years ago.
Sold.
For months back, for $600,000. To a name I didn't recognize: Victor Lang, Greg's real estate mentor. The room spun.
You
"You sold the house." My voice came out as a whisper, but it cut through the chatter like a knife. Leah's fork clattered to her plate. Mom's eyes darted away, fiddling with her napkin. It was the right time, honey. The market was hot, and we needed. Greg cut in smoothly, his voice like oil on water. "It's an investment for everyone."
You'll see.
But I wasn't seeing anything except red. That house wasn't just bricks and mortar. It was Dad's promise. Our anchor after he was gone. The backyard where he'd pushed us on swings. The living room where we'd cried together through the worst nights. And they'd sold it without a word? To Greg's buddy? I stood up, the chair scraping loud enough to turn heads from nearby tables. "This is our inheritance. Dad's will specified it for Leah and me." "How could you do this behind our backs?" Tyler smirked into his phone, muttering something about drama queens. Mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Sarah,
Please.
let's talk later."
No.
We talked right there, voices rising until the manager hovered awkwardly. By the end, I was storming out into the rainy Seattle night, the envelope clutched like a weapon. That was the night I realized my mother, the woman who'd bandaged my knees and wiped my tears, had traded our past for whatever Greg was selling her. And it was only the start of unraveling the web they'd spun. The rain pelted my windshield as I drove home, my mind racing faster than the wipers could clear the blur. I couldn't shake the image of Greg's smug face, the way he'd leaned back like he owned the world, and apparently, our house. By the time I got to my apartment, I was already on my laptop, pulling up public records. Elmwood Drive popped up immediately, transferred to Victor Lang for $600,000. All cash. No mortgage. But digging deeper, I found the cracks. 2 years ago, a home equity line of credit for $200,000. Last year, another refinance. Each one timed perfectly with Tyler's fancy boarding school tuition or Greg's business trips to Vegas. Dad had been a mechanic, steady and honest, scraping by to keep that house in the family. Mom remarried Greg 5 years after Dad passed, a slick-talking property flipper with a trail of failed deals and a son who treated us like intruders. At first, it seemed good for her. She smiled more, worried less about bills. But slowly, things shifted. Greg's leather couch replaced Dad's worn recliner. Tyler got the garage for his drum set, pushing our old bikes into storage. When Leah asked about the family photos coming down, Mom just said, "We're making new memories." New memories. Funded by what? I texted Leah, "Meet me tomorrow. We need to talk about this." She replied instantly, "I'm in. This feels wrong." The next morning, over coffee in a quiet cafe near her campus, Leah's eyes were red-rimmed. "I called Mom last night. She said it was for stability." But Greg was yelling in the background. We pieced it together. The house was in Mom's name, But Dad's will named us as protected heirs. Selling without our input? That screamed foul play. Leah, studying pre-law, pulled up statutes on her phone. This could be fraud.
Sarah.
If they hid it intentionally. My phone buzzed, Mom. Come over? We can explain. I went. Against my better judgment. Recorder app running discreetly. Greg opened the door. All false warmth. Sarah. Let's not make this bigger than it is. Inside. Mom looked small on the couch, twisting her wedding ring. The house was falling apart. Repairs. Taxes. Greg said selling was best. To his mentor? For what? A kickback. Greg's smile faltered. Victor offered fair market. The money's in a trust for the family. Show me the trust documents. Silence stretched. Thick and telling. Mom whispered. Greg handles the finances. He's good at it. I pressed. Did you know about our heir rights? She glanced at Greg, who shook his head subtly. It didn't matter. It's my property. But her voice cracked, and in that pause, I saw the doubt she'd buried. Greg stood. This conversation's over. You're upsetting your mother. As I left, he followed me to the car. Drop this.
Sarah.
Or things get complicated. His tone was low.
Threatening.
I drove away. Heart pounding, but resolute. Complicated? He'd just made it personal. That threat lit a fire under me. I wasn't some naive kid anymore. I was a project manager at a tech firm, used to digging through data for truths. First stop, the county recorder's office. The clerk, an older woman with kind eyes, handed over the full file. You look like you mean business. Hon. I did. The documents showed Greg as witness on the sale, Victor Lang as buyer, and a notary who worked at Greg's flipping company. Cozy. Then the bank transfers, $600,000 into an escrow. Then funneled to GL Ventures LLC. Greg's initials. Formed weeks before the sale. Leah met me at the library, where we cross-referenced everything. Look, she said, pointing to Greg's LinkedIn. He's now senior partner at Lang's firm. Started right after the sale. The buy-in fee for partnership? Rumored at $600,000 in industry chats. It clicked. Our home sold at a steal to buy Greg's way up the ladder. We need a lawyer, Leah said. We found one, Elena Vasquez. A bulldog in estate fraud cases. Her office smelled of coffee and determination. This stinks of conspiracy, she said after reviewing our files. Your mom was coerced. Or, at least manipulated. We'll file for fraud. Breach of duty. The works. The suit hit like a bomb. Greg called. Furious. You'll regret this. Mom pleaded. Sarah. Leah.
Please.
We're family. But family doesn't steal from family. Discovery unearthed more. Emails between Greg and Victor discussing quiet transfer to avoid complications with the kids. Tyler's lavish ski trips, paid from the LLC. Mom's signature on loans she claimed not to remember. The emotional toll crept in slowly. Nights I lay awake, replaying childhood memories, Dad fixing the roof, Mom baking cookies. How had she become this shadow? Letting Greg pull the strings? Leah struggled, too. Skipping classes. Her trust shattered. But we pushed on, gathering affidavits from old neighbors who'd seen Greg inspecting the house suspiciously. One evening, Mom showed up at my door. Alone. I didn't know, she whispered, tears streaming. Greg said it was temporary, that we'd all benefit. Did you ask questions? Or just sign? She crumpled. I was scared. After your dad. I couldn't be alone. Greg promised security. Security built on our loss. I hugged her, but the warmth was gone. We have to fight this.
Mom.
For Dad. She nodded. but her eyes held defeat. As she left, I wondered if we'd ever rebuild what was breaking. The lawsuit papers served to Greg turned our family dinners into battlegrounds, but there were no more dinners after that. He lawyered up fast. A team of sharks from a downtown firm, claiming everything was above board, a marital decision for the home Mom owned outright. But Elena shredded that in our first hearing. Your Honor, the plaintiffs are named heirs per the deceased father's will. This sale bypassed their rights entirely. The judge, a stern man named Harlan Reed, nodded thoughtfully. Proceed with discovery. I want full financials. That's when the dirt really surfaced. Subpoenas revealed the LLC's books, outflows to Tyler's college fund, Greg's country club dues, even a down payment on a boat. Nothing for Mom. Nothing for us. Victor Lang tried to distance himself, but his emails betrayed him. Make sure the kids don't sniff this out. Partnership's yours once the funds clear. Conspiracy.
Plain as day.
Greg's threats escalated subtly, anonymous calls to my work about personal issues affecting performance. I reported them, but it shook me. Leah found her car keyed one night. Back off, scratched into the paint. We installed cameras. Documented everything. Mom wavered. Caught in the middle. She'd call crying. Greg says you'll bankrupt us. He's the one who stole. Mom. One afternoon, she confessed more over tea at her sister's house, away from Greg. There were debts. His flipping business tanked years ago. Loans from shady lenders. He said selling the house would square it. And you believed him? Without telling us. Her shoulders sagged. I was weak. Lonely. He made me feel needed. The pain in her voice twisted my gut. A mix of pity and rage. How could love blind someone so completely? Elena used that in deposition. Mom on the stand, voice trembling. I signed what he gave me. I didn't read it all. Greg's lawyers objected, but the damage was done. Tyler, deposed next, was a disaster, arrogant, admitting he'd known about the sale but didn't care. It's not my problem. His entitlement fueled my fire. Late nights, Leah and I pored over records, the emotional weight pressing down. Do you ever wonder if we're destroying her? Leah asked once, eyes glassy. No, I lied. We're saving what's left. But doubt crept in, whispers of what family meant when betrayal ran this deep. As trial loomed, the pressure built like a storm gathering over Puget Sound. Greg's team filed motions to dismiss, claiming no intent to defraud, just poor communication. Elena countered with bank statements showing the $600,000 routed straight to Victor's firm as investment capital, securing Greg's partnership. This wasn't a sale, it was a payoff. I testified first. Voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. That house was Dad's gift to us. They sold it in secret. Used the money for themselves. Cross-exam. Isn't it true you resented your stepfather from the start? Greg's lawyer sneered. Resentment?
No.
Betrayal? Absolutely. Leah followed, her pre-law poise shining. We were consulted because they knew we'd object. It was deliberate. Mom's testimony broke me. She looked frail under the courtroom lights. I thought it was for the best. Greg promised. Elena gently. Promised what? Returns? Security.
Yes.
But I see now it was lies. Greg exploded from his seat. You ungrateful. The judge banged his gavel. Order. On the stand, Greg was all bluster. I was building wealth for the family. These girls are overreacting. But emails projected large undid him. One to Victor. Funds secured, kids none the wiser. The gallery murmured. Victor took the stand reluctantly. It was a legitimate deal. At $150,000 below market?
Elena procede.
Showing comps. He stammered. Sweat beading. Closing arguments. Elena's voice rose with passion. This is theft disguised as family business. Greed over blood. Greg's lawyer pleaded misunderstanding. Judge Reed recessed. The wait agonizing. 2 hours later, the evidence shows clear fraud and conspiracy. Judgment for plaintiffs, $300,000 each, plus damages of $100,000 for distress. Mr. Lang, your involvement warrants referral to the bar for ethics review. Greg's face drained of color. Mom gasped. Tyler stormed out.
Outside.
Leah hugged me, tears mixing with rain. We did it. But victory felt hollow. The family fractures too deep. Greg appealed. But we knew the evidence was ironclad. Mom moved in with her sister. The house, now Victor's, sold again to cover his fines. We used our share to invest wisely, honoring Dad. Yet as I watched the Seattle skyline that night, I wondered, at what cost does justice come when it shatters the ones you love? The aftermath unfolded in slow, painful waves, like the tide eroding the shore. Greg's assets froze immediately, his Porsche auctioned, the boat repossessed. Tyler's tuition pulled. He raged in voicemails I saved for the record. You'll pay for this. But the criminal referral stuck. The DA charged him with fraud and financial exploitation. Mom filed for divorce quietly, her lawyer citing the fraud as grounds. She got half of what remained, but it was pennies compared to what was lost. I should have seen it, she told me over coffee one gray morning. Love makes fools of us. I nodded, but forgiveness lingered just out of reach. It wasn't just love.
Mom.
It was choice. Tyler cut ties, moving to California with friends, working odd jobs, his silver spoon bent beyond repair. Leah graduated, channeling her anger into advocacy work for inheritance rights.
Me?
I threw myself into my career, the fight hardening me into someone sharper, less trusting. Nights brought dreams of Dad, his laugh echoing in that old house. Waking, I'd stare at the ceiling, questioning if exposing the truth was worth the ruin. Greg's trial came 6 months later. A media circus in local news. Stepdad jailed for stealing kids home. He got 5 years. Parole in 3. Watching him led away in cuffs, I felt no joy, just closure. Mom visited him once, then never again.
He's not the man I married, she said.
Or maybe he was, and she hadn't wanted to see. We rebuilt slowly, Leah and I buying a small duplex together, our new legacy. Mom joined us for holidays, tentative bridges forming over shared memories of Dad. But the scars remained, a reminder that betrayal doesn't heal clean. In quiet moments, I pondered the moral fog. Does fighting for what's right justify the fallout? Or does family demand we swallow the poison to keep the peace? Greg's imprisonment marked the end of one chapter, but the echoes lingered like ghosts in an empty room. I visited the old neighborhood one foggy morning, parking across from Elmwood Drive. The new owners had painted it blue, added flower boxes, life moving on without us. A kid bounced a ball in the driveway.
Carefree.
It stung, but also soothed. The house deserved happiness. Back home, Leah called. Mom wants to meet. Says she has something. We gathered at a neutral park bench. Mom looking fragile but determined. I found these in Greg's old files. Envelopes of receipts, proof of more hidden debts. Gambling losses predating the sale. He blackmailed me emotionally. Said we'd lose everything. Her confession hung heavy. Why now? I asked softly. Because I owe you the truth. I was complicit in my weakness. Leah squeezed her hand. We can try to move forward, but trust rebuilds brick by brick. And ours was still rubble. Victor's firm collapsed under scrutiny. His license revoked. He settled out of court. paying us an extra $50,000 each in restitution. The money funded therapy for all of us. Sessions uncovered layers, my anger masking grief for Dad, Leah's fear of abandonment, Mom's codependency. Betrayal reshapes you, the therapist said. But you choose the new form. I chose strength, volunteering at a legal aid clinic, helping others spot fraud early. One client, a widow duped by her new husband, mirrored Mom so closely it ached. Fight, I told her. It's worth it, Greg wrote, from prison once. A rambling apology blaming bad choices. I burned it unread. Tyler surfaced on social media, posting about starting over, humble jobs, no filters. Part of me pitted him. He'd been a pawn in his dad's game. Mom dated again. Cautiously, a kind widower from church. We met him over dinner. Wary but open. No secrets this time, she promised. As the seasons turned, the wound scarred over. Leah and I hosted Thanksgiving in our duplex. Mom at the table. Laughter tentative but real. Yet in quiet pauses, the what-ifs whispered. Could we have confronted sooner? Forgiven faster? The moral quandary lingered. Justice served. But at the price of fractured bonds. Was it right to prioritize principle over people? Years blurred the sharp edges. But the core ache remained a dull throb. At 35, I stood in my office, promoted to director, overlooking the bustling Seattle streets. Success tasted bittersweet, flavored by the fight that got me here. Leah thrived as a lawyer, specializing in family estates to prevent what happened to us. Mom remarried her widower, a quiet ceremony we attended. Thank you for giving me another chance, she whispered during the dance. We all deserved one, I replied, meaning it more than before. Greg paroled early for good behavior, moving to a small town, forbidden from real estate. Rumors said he worked as a clerk, ironic justice. Tyler reconciled somewhat, visiting Leah for coffee, admitting his blindness. Dad poisoned everything. We nodded. No words needed. The old house? Sold again. But we drove by once, sharing stories of Dad. He'd be proud, Mom said. I believed her. The lingering question evolved. In the face of betrayal, does forgiveness heal or enable? We'd chosen justice first, mending after. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, a testament to resilience born from ruin. Reflecting back, the betrayal's roots ran deeper than I first saw, tangled in the soil of unmet needs and hidden fears. Mom's loneliness after Dad was a vulnerability Greg exploited masterfully, with charm that masked his calculations. I'd overlooked the signs, the way he'd isolate her from us, control the conversations. Therapy helped unpack that. You can't save someone who doesn't see the cage. But understanding didn't erase the hurt, it just gave it context. Leah and I grew a bond unbreakable, our duplex becoming a hub for friends who'd faced similar storms. Share your story, one urged. I did, anonymously online. And responses flooded, others empowered to fight back. Mom's new life bloomed slowly. Her husband, Robert, encouraged independence. She volunteered at a women's shelter, helping spot manipulators. I was blind once, she'd say. Greg's letters stopped after I returned one unopened. Word came he remarried, another widow. I alerted authorities anonymously. Patterns don't change easily. Tyler pursued music, dropping the entitlement, crediting the fallout for his growth. Rock bottom teaches humility. The financial security from our win allowed dreams. I traveled. Leah started a nonprofit. Yet money couldn't buy back innocence lost to deceit. In still moments, the ethical shadow loomed. Did our pursuit of justice border on vengeance? Or was it necessary to break the cycle? The answer shifted with time. but the peace it brought outweighed the chaos. The final threads unraveled in unexpected ways, weaving a tapestry of redemption amid the wreckage. On Dad's would-be 60th, we gathered at his grave, Mom,
Leah? Me?
even Robert. Stories flowed, his bad jokes, his unwavering love. He taught us integrity, I said. Mom nodded, tears glistening. I failed that for a while. But you're here now. Forgiveness crept in, not all at once, but in increments. Greg faded into irrelevance, his prison stint a cautionary tale in real estate circles. Victor retired in disgrace. His empire crumbled. Tyler visited, bringing his guitar, playing Dad's favorite songs. Sorry for being a jerk. Water under the bridge. The house on Elmwood became a symbol, not of loss, but of what we reclaimed, our agency, our truth. As I watched the sunset that evening, the moral echo persisted. When family betrays, do you sever ties or extend grace? We'd done both. In measure, emerging stronger. Justice isn't always triumphant fanfare. Sometimes it's quiet survival. A whisper of hope after the storm. In the end, the saga of our stolen inheritance reshaped us all, leaving imprints that time softened but never erased. I married at 37, to a man who valued transparency above all, lessons hard-learned. Our home, modest but ours, held no secrets. Leah's nonprofit thrived, saving countless families from similar fates. Your story inspired this, she told me. Mom and Robert traveled, her laughter genuine again. She called weekly, bridges mended with care. I love you both more than words.
Greg?
Last heard working odd jobs. Isolated. His choices caught up. A solitary end. Tyler built a band, dedicating an album to lessons from loss. We attended his show, clapping proudly. The old wounds, they ache on rainy days. Reminders of vulnerability. But they also fuel empathy, a deeper understanding of human frailty. The central question haunts still, in betrayal's wake. Does one prioritize self-preservation or reconciliation? We'd navigated both, finding that justice paves the path to possible healing. It's not a neat bow, but life's rarely so. Instead, it's the lingering what-if, the ethical haze that makes us human flawed, fighting, forever changed.